Hey guys, Keeper Eric here at Elmwood Park Zoo with some exciting news. So of course, some of you might remember before we had to close down because of the unfortunate COVID-19 outbreak, we were actually working on our brand new American alligator exhibit for our precious girl Penny. And we're excited to say that we actually just were able to put the last little bit of finishing touches on it, and she's moving in tomorrow. So before she gets in there, why don't you come check out all the cool stuff that we added for her. Let's go. All right guys, so welcome inside. The first thing that I want to show you is actually Penny's new basking spot. So we kind of designed this to look a little bit kind of like a swampy Louisiana porch found out in the swamps. We kind of burned some cedar posts here, added a nice metal roof, and all of this looks really cool, but it actually functions as something very important for our little alligator friend. So underneath, you might actually not see this from the guest side too well, and that's actually the point, is we actually have a basking spot. So because we're inside, we've actually created basically an artificial sun underneath here with all the fixings. So right here is actually a UV light, and this is actually a brand new system that we found out about called Arcadia lighting. This stuff actually produces great UV for her. From a far further distance than normal reptile lighting. So we're actually able to give her a solid bit of UV that she would find out in the Everglades, which is going to help out with her skin and being able to poop, which is super important. The other lights that are around are actually these really cool infrared lights. These infrared lights work a lot different than just a normal heater. These are a light source that actually goes into the skin itself. And what I mean by that is instead of just the normal heat you would get from, like, say, a heater at your house or a heat blanket, this light more mimics that of the sun. If you ever wonder when you go for a swim and then you dry out in the sun, how you feel to dry off a lot quicker, or that sun when you sit out in a nice sunny day, you kind of feel extra warm, that's actually from infrared light. Infrared light can actually go much deeper into the skin and actually helps energize reptiles a lot. So these infrared lights are actually going to help keep Penny nice and energized and keep us on our toes when she's in here. And then nextly, we're going to move on to some plants, so come check these out. All right, so all the plants that we have in here are actually plants that would be found down in the Louisiana or Floridian swamps where Penny would naturally be found. And all of these guys are either there or represent plants that are down there. So the first one I want to talk about is we actually have a beautiful little mountain laurel plant, and we actually have two of these in here. And mountain laurel is actually Pennsylvania state flower. So that's actually a really cool one that we have in here. It's an evergreen, so these leaves will stay green all year round, and it'll actually produce a really cool flower. Over here, we actually have a willow bush. And these guys actually can grow much, much bigger than what they currently are. These guys can actually get 8 to 10 feet, but the reason why we chose these is because these guys are actually something that we can use as browse, which is just a fancy name for leaves that we can feed to our animals. So when these guys start really growing real big, it's gonna look really cool here for the gator, and actually would be a great snack for our giraffe as well. We got some gorgeous palms in here as well. These guys are kind of scattered throughout the Floridian swamp, and these guys can actually get a couple feet higher. And when these guys dry up, we can actually use them for our insect cultures that help feed our frogs here. All right guys, so we have some of our more delicate plants here, and the reason why we have them over here is we actually butted them up to this post right here. The idea is this is going to be an area that we hope that the gator Penny doesn't travel so much, so that they're kind of in a safer area. But working with animals, they don't always follow any sort of guidelines, but that's kind of the point of when you do this kind of horticulture in these areas, is you're kind of, it's a give and take. You kind of feel out exactly what they want. So the plants that we have here, we have some gorgeous autumn ferns to kind of give it that kind of Evergladesy, kind of swampy feel. We have some irises in here. Down in Louisiana, they do have wild irises in their swamps, so that's what that represents. And then of course we have some honeysuckle bellflower. So these are viner, so it'll actually grow all the way up these posts and actually give off these gorgeous bell red flowers. And this is something that will pretty much flower throughout the summertime. And even though this is a very quick grower, and might be a nuisance in some of your backyards yourself, this is something that we actually can use for planting. that we can use for animal food. So this is going to be quite an exciting one that we actually want to grow crazy. All right, so two other plants that we have here that really kind of give it that nice swampy look is, of course, we have some lily pads. We're gonna see how well these do. This is the one I'm most curious about if she's gonna leave alone, but we actually have some lily pads here that will kind of grow across the pond a little bit. Of course, we're not gonna let it overgrow so much that you can't see the gator, but it's just something that she'll be able to kind of cruise around in and play within the lily pads just like she would in the wild. And then the other thing we have here, of course, is natural grass. But we're gonna keep this grass a little different than you would at home. The actual idea is that we're actually gonna let the grass kind of grow as long as it wants, because we want it to look just like the swampy marshes that you would find down in Louisiana. And you're not having some guy go out there and cut them all for all the golf courses. Well, you might have some on some of the golf courses cut them down, but we want it to look like it would out in the swamps. All right, and the final plant I really want to talk about right now is this is actually what is called Spanish moss. It's kind of pretty much one of the iconic plants that you see in swamps, is that they're just growing all down throughout the trees. And even though it's called Spanish moss, it is actually an air plant. And this is actually live Spanish moss that we got from local greenhouses. Now you'll notice kind of on this side, which you won't really see from the guest view, is this black tubing that goes up. And that actually waters them once a day. So this black tubing is actually connected to tubing that is found underneath our grass and actually underneath pretty much most of the soil and the sand in this exhibit. And this is all on an automated watering system. So this is something that the keepers don't have to worry about and lets it kind of just grow naturally. That it'll come on just a little bit every single day and give all our plants here just a little fresh bit of water and keep them growing nice and strong throughout the year. Well, that's her new exhibit, so why don't we bring her on in?
Right, if you want to move back and then you can in, you can see it out.
Yep.
Yeah, we can put
Over there. Yep. All right, Henny. Welcome to your new home, girl. Everything the light touches is now your kingdom. Enjoy. We even got our favorite toy. So clearly Penny's definitely enjoying her new exhibit, and I hope you guys did as well. And from all of us here, including Penny,